Hey everybody, Al Fragnoli, Zach Sutty. We're joined this evening by Joe Youngblood. Joe is the Director of Parks and Recreation for Shelby Township in Shelby Township, Michigan. He's a fellow Chippewa as well, a former Division I student athlete at Central Michigan University. Joe, thanks for joining us today.
Al, Zach, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you. We got a couple questions. We'll dive into them right away. So the first one, Joe, we'll start with is you ended up playing college football in the 90s, as we mentioned, at Central Michigan University. You were a starter there at quarterback for your junior and senior seasons. Tell us a little bit about what ultimately got you into playing football, and how did you decide CMU was the right school and the right fit for you?
Yes, Al, growing up, I played sports. You know, we all started playing t-ball and youth basketball. So I played basketball, baseball, and football growing up through elementary school, actually all the way through high school. But football end of it, my father, he was a coach. And when we were 9 years old and my brother was 11, he got us into the Sterling Heights Redskins program. So we played 1 year there, but we lived in Shelby Township and they didn't have a youth football league. So my dad got with his buddies and they decided to form the Shelby Lions youth football program, which is still very strong today. So looking back on it, very proud of my dad. Started up a program like that is this strong to this day right here in Shelby Township. So from there, I went on to play Mellow Junior High, which is a feeder school into Eisenhower High School. And when I was at Eisenhower High School, we had a great time. We had a very successful senior year at Eisenhower, very strong program, still is to this day. And after that, my coaches told me after my junior year that, Joe, you're going to be playing Division I football. I didn't really think about it at the time because nowadays it's all you hear about is kids, when they're in junior high, they're, putting their videos out in huddle and to get recruited. Well, it wasn't like that back then. So with that being said, the coaches started coming around, college coaches. And then recruiting process began. And at the time, I was getting letters from Notre Dame, Michigan, Michigan State, and Wisconsin, and Boston College. So I was very excited about that. But when it came down to it, I had offers from Central Michigan, Western, Eastern, and Toledo. So those are my options. And then I went on all the recruiting visits. Well, Central Michigan was what I really thought of a college town. So it was a beautiful town, a beautiful place. My mom gave me the best advice. Our moms, they always give us great advice. She said, well, Joe, if you get hurt in your first practice and tear your knee up, not to be a negative thought, but she said, and you can't play football, where do you want to be? And it was Central Michigan University. And the last thing on that I wanted to add is Coach Herb Duramity, who's a legend up there, College Hall of Fame. He was the head coach at the time and one of the classiest men I ever met and just absolutely wonderful.
That's awesome, Joe. So you mentioned this a little bit. You really wanted to attend Michigan State, but that didn't end up working for you. Everything happens for a reason. You actually got to play Michigan State in your time at CMU. And in 1992, you led the Chippewas to a 24-20 victory over the Spartans. You were named Mid-American Conference Player of the Week after your performance in that game. Talk to us a little bit about the memories that you have from that game and, playing against Michigan State.
Yes, Zach. At Eisenhower in the off season, you go to the camps at the time. You go to the Michigan camps, Michigan State camps, and the Michigan State coaches were always, they'd talk to me and Joe, we're keeping an eye on you. And my sister had went there, so I had visited it a few times and I just loved it. It seemed like it'd be a great fit for me. But like I said, when it comes down to it, they only have a certain amount of scholarships. I'm 6 foot tall, wasn't 6'2", 6'4". That's a big factor back then as it is now. So I ended up signing with Central Michigan. And I remember looking at the schedule early on saying, we have Michigan State scheduled probably about the time I planned to be starting. Because I knew we had a quarterback ahead of me that was player of the year before. So I knew I'd bide my time, got redshirted. And it's amazing how it turned out. So it was my first start of the year was down at Kentucky. Second start was at Michigan State. I had a bunch of high school buddies at Michigan State. I had 100 friends and family. We have a big family. We're all there, all my high school coaches and buddies, and end up beating them. And I mean, it feels like it's yesterday. And it was one of the best memories I ever had. And I tell you what, that 45-minute bus ride back to Mount Pleasant, that's one of the best bus rides we ever had, and a memory I'll never forget. So it is amazing. And one thing I remember, because I was quoted in a saying, is in the paper after the game, it's always not the size of the player, it's the heart of the player. Because we had, pretty much every player on our team wanted to play Big Ten football, and we all knew other players from camps and in high school football. So we knew a lot of those guys on the other team, and so yeah, it was, to this day we still talk about it.
That's awesome, Joe. That had to be a very, very exciting moment for you and your family. So that's awesome. I know.
Hey, Al, I wanted to add one last thing for you. It was just fun. Earlier tonight, I was at the gym and I came out of the one room at Planet Fitness, and I was just there was a young lady there and her girlfriend. They're probably 20 years old, college students. She had the Michigan State beat Sparty shirt, Central Michigan 24, MSU 20. So I had to go up to her and I said, "Hey, Central Michigan." I played on that team, and she was like, just not in awe. She was startled, like, "Who's this old guy talking to me?" But I was just like, "I just want to tell you, fire up, Chips." And she had a big laugh. But you don't see those shirts around anymore. That's a long time ago. But to see that, just an hour and a half ago, is kind of funny. I had to head that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the next question we'll ask you is, I know you mentioned Eisenhower, and that you went to Eisenhower High School here in Shelby Township, Michigan, but you're still very heavily involved with the high school and giving back to the community. You work with the quarterbacks and the wide receivers still there, and you train them. You've done that the last couple of years. Tell us a little bit about that experience and what it means to you to go back to where you played high school and just give back to those young kids coming through the ranks.
Yes, Al. Eisenhower is a very special place for me. I have the fondest memories playing high school ball there. Eisenhower High School is 5 minutes from my house. My daughter Molly's on the dance team at Eisenhower, and it's just a perfect fit. And I wouldn't want to be a volunteer coach anywhere else, quarterback coach, and to be able to do it there, and it just all the memories I have from being there, to give back to the kids. And this year, getting more involved with the total passing game. I'm really looking forward to it. It's very special to me, and anytime you can give back to the youth in the community, something you went through, but when it's your former high school and you have a lot of great memories, it's just even better yet.
So, talking about giving back to the community, you actually have a role in the community. You have a position as the director of Parks and Recreation for Shelby Township. How did sports help you prepare for that role?
Yeah, looking back on it, Zach, is at Central Michigan, my junior and senior year, as the captain of the teams, and that's voted on by your teammates. And I always look at a captain has to be a leader. And I think I've been able to take that into the workplace where being the director of Parks and Rec, it's like being the head coach. And also in my position, you have the township board ahead of you or above me. And what I've learned is, you have to be able to listen to your coach. And for me, it's to be able to be a leader and to work well with our employees and give them direction, but do it in a good leadership way. I don't like to micromanage, and that's part of playing sports. You can't play all 11 positions at once. You have to trust your teammates. You have to trust the receiver is going to run the correct route. The running back's going to run left when he's going left on a dive play. And those are things you try to put back into the workplace. You give everyone a role. And I always, the work staff, they always joke, because I always talk about Team Shelby, rah, rah, and but I think it's really true, because I've seen a lot of times people that have been playing sports throughout the year understand that concept. And one example is, a couple times at Central, we played some games where we knew we were going to be run heavy just because we were favored. Now, I wanted to throw the ball 50 times a game. So with that being said, that was the game plan. I had a coach who I reported to. As of now, I report to the township board. So you understand that. So I ran the whole game plan, didn't complain. We win the game. I'm happy as can be. Yeah, inside I'm thinking, gosh, I wish I would have thrown the ball more, but that's how all quarterbacks want to throw the ball every play. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand to the workplace. And So that's been very important to me in helping my role in the workplace.
Awesome. Joe, we're going to wrap it up with this last question here. So a lot of times right now you hear about whether a young athlete should devote all of his or her time to one specific sport all year round, or if he should diversify and play multiple sports. What are your thoughts on this for a young athlete coming up?
100%. I feel diversify, play as many sports as possible. That is probably one of the most important piece of advice I could give to any young player. And I remember even in high school, Coach Lancey, who was our head coach, and that was a long time ago, 1989, senior year. But I know to this day, he still preaches the same thing. Play every sport you could possibly play. You hear a lot of these top-notch college coaches, they want these young athletes playing multiple sports. Specializing is, I'm not saying it's wrong for a certain person, but I truly believe if somebody asks for my advice, play football, play basketball, play baseball, track, wrestling. I mean, look at wrestlers and these offensive linemen. I mean, that goes hand in hand, how tough they are and the strength and the moves they find on the offensive or defensive line. So yeah, I think diversify, very, very important.
Awesome. Joe, this was fantastic information that you shared for us. We know you're incredibly busy, so thank you so much for coming on with us today and sharing your background and your time at Central Michigan. As everybody who's went to Central, fire up Chips. We all love our time that we spent at Central. It is 100% a great college town. Zach has heard this a million times on our podcast here, but thank you so much for coming on with us. Thanks for sharing your story. And thanks for everything that you do in the community here at Shelby Township and giving back to the local youth athletes and everything you do in your current role as Director of Park and Rec for the community. Thank you, Joe.
Al and Zach, thanks for having me on. Fire up Chips.
Fire up Chips.